you might really end up resenting the fact that you earn more than I do, or resenting the fact that, why does she always keep asking me for money? Like, hi guys, my name is Lindy and this is Tando, and together we are the duo that makes up Skilled Finances. If you're joining us for the first time, we're so excited to have you here with us. This is definitely the place to be if you want to level up your personal finance skills with a focus on couples and family finances. If you're not already doing so, make sure you click the subscribe button, hit that notification bell. You can also catch us on all our other socials, that's at Skilled Finances. And if you're someone that loves to listen to a podcast, make sure you're following us on podcast platforms, and that's also at Skilled Finances.
Yeah, and so today what we're going to be talking about even is one of the most popular ways to split your finances with your partner, and that is the 50-50 split. And now here's the thing, it's understandable because, you kind of take everything you have, split it down the middle, and you both have an equal sort of share in everything. And this happens even beyond just money, right? If you think about it, the way we kind of set up life, you could say things like, we'll cover Christmas this year and we'll just split gifts 50-50.
Yeah.
Or it might be that we go to your family for Christmas this year, we'll go to my family for Christmas next year. Or it might be that, you kind of say things like, you cook and I'll wash the dishes.
Yeah.
It's the whole idea behind that is so that as a couple, you kind of share the load on an equal footing, or what feels equal anyhow.
Yeah.
And so on the same sort of approach with money, sometimes you may even say, okay, we're now living together, or we've been living together for years, and we're looking to split our costs and our living expenses. How should we do that? And the 50-50 split is probably one of the most common ways that couples begin this journey, or even are, where you basically say everything that we pay together, we'll just split it halfway and we will do that. So what we're going to talk about really is, does that work, right? Like, how realistic or how fair is the 50-50 split? Because it sounds fair when you say it.
Yeah.
But is it really fair? Does it really work? Is it for every couple? That's exactly what we're going to dive into today. So I'm excited.
Absolutely. So would you say that it's fair? Because now you brought up the fair question. Do you think it's fair?
Probably not, but there's many reasons for that.
Yeah.
So let's start at the top. So 50-50 split basically is where you take your household bills and every other shared cost that you have, and you split it down the middle, right? You make it 50-50. So let's just assume that the total cost of your household bills is £2,000. Split it down the middle, that's 1,000 each.
Yeah.
So that sounds fair, right? Because we're both paying the same amount of money to our lifestyle. Now, personally, for me, I don't think it's fair for other reasons.
Right.
So there's a lot to think about when it comes to money, and it's not just about how much is the thing that we're paying for, because it's not like you were going on holiday, right? And just being like, oh, we'll just, add up the plane ticket, add up the hotel, split it down the middle. We'll both pay like 50-50 each and then go and enjoy our holiday.
Yeah.
That makes sense for something like an event or something like that. Or even when you go to a restaurant, split the bill halfway. That makes sense for that. But when it comes to living expenses, I feel like it's not quite that simple, and it's not always that simple. And it is these other, there's other things to consider that then complicate it, which for me then question about whether it would be fair. So let's just give a scenario whereby we are splitting our costs £1,000 each way, and let's say you earn 1,500, I earn 1,800 a month. How would you feel about that?
Yeah, no, I wouldn't agree with that. So I think the whole 50-50 split thing is very subjective, depending on how much people earn.
Okay.
Right, because if one of you earns less than the other, the one that earns more, the £1,000 might not feel that deep to them. It's like, oh, it's just £1,000. It's fine. Because like you said, if you're on 1,800, for example, and I'm on 1,600, you've got 800 at the end of it, and I've got 6. So fair enough, the 8-6 split might not seem like too deep of a split, but imagine if you earned 3,000 and I earn 1,600. I'm only left with 600 at the end of the day, and you're left with £2,000. So that's why I'm saying it's very subjective, depending on what you earn,
Yeah.
Yeah, and probably shouldn't be split 50-50 if one of you is earning like relatively more than the other.
But there is a question, right, with this, which is, okay, why does income matter if we are both in the house?
Yeah.
We're both using the electricity and the gas and paying and basically have the same mortgage or rent.
Yeah.
Why should I pay more just because I earn more? Why is a 50-50 split not a good match in that situation?
Well, the way I see it is, okay, we could go down the route of 1,000,000. So I'm the 1,600, you're the 3,000. At the end of the day, once that 1,000 is gone, I've only got 600,
Yeah.
you've got 2,000. Chances are, if I was then in a bind and needed money, I'd then constantly be asking you for money, if
Okay.
we're being completely honest. Because then I'd be like, oh, yeah, I'm short of money, I need this. I'm short of money, I need that. Can you help me? Can you help me? You might really end up resenting the fact that you earn more than I do, or resenting the fact that, why does she always keep asking me for money? Like,
Yeah.
why does she do that?
Yeah. And I think for me, that's the income bit, the bit that you just mentioned, is exactly why I think is not fair in that sense.
Yeah.
Because as you say, if I have £2,000 extra, you have £600 extra, there's a lot of things that may happen in that scenario.
Yeah.
So the first thing might be, yeah, as you said, resentment. The other thing that might happen is that, well, my lifestyle, should I say, in terms of my personal lifestyle, might look a little bit more extravagant than yours.
Yeah.
I've got more discretionary spending money.
Yeah.
So maybe I'm like, hey, let's go eat out in this restaurant, or let's go do this weekend trip over here. And then you're then thinking, as much as I'd love to, I can't afford it.
Yeah.
And then that obviously then can start to cause a little bit of friction, because I'm there like, oh, but you never want to do anything. But then I'm not
like,
then
I
understanding.
genuinely don't have the money to do anything.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That you don't have the money. So then in that situation, it's like, okay, it sounded fair on the surface.
Yeah.
But now that we're putting it into practice, is it really fair though? It's a hard one, because then the truth of the matter is this: because it is two of us, chances are, we signed a lease or we bought a house based on our joint income.
Yeah.
First of all, right? Second of all, we are both using the electricity, both using the gas, and so maybe from your perspective, you might be then thinking, well, based on your income, you probably wouldn't have lived in this house.
Yeah.
Or raked up this many bills, because you would have happily lived way within your
means.
income.
Yeah.
But because when we signed up to this lease, or when we were moving in together, whatever the case is, we both kind of thought, what's our joint income, and can we both pay towards the living costs? And we said yes to it. But as I said, when you put in the discretionary spending, the money that's left after the bills are paid, it can start to feel unfair, despite the fact that we're both paying the same amount of money.
Yeah. I definitely agree with that. And that's why I was saying that it's very subjective. I think it's not as bad if you're earning similar incomes. So let's say you're both on 2,000, one's on 2,200. It's like, it's not that deep, is it? Like, you can definitely say, oh yeah, we'll split, it's fine. Or you're on the exact same income, it's fine. But the minute one of you is earning way more than the other, then one of you, the one earning less, will definitely feel like the situation's a bit unfair. Like, why should it be like this?
Yeah. So obviously we've said it's unfair, and obviously that's our opinion on this matter. And the biggest reason for that is because of the income differences. And the truth of the matter is that when you're in a relationship, your income is most likely going to be different, and sometimes it is significantly different. And so it is things like that you kind of have to take into account. But on the flip side, having said that, it's a good place to start, don't you think? I think it is for couples who have just moved in together and are starting a new life together. It's not a bad place to start and just kind of say, okay, let's add up our bills and let's split it down the middle 50-50, and then we'll see how we go with it. I feel like it sounds easy enough to not be too demanding on both of you, to having to think about, okay, how much are we paying this month, how much are we paying next month, that kind of thing. But just kind of keeping it very simple. Add everything up and split it down the middle. I don't know. What do you think?
Budgeting as a couple can be a challenge, and it can actually be very daunting. Now, we've been there, but fortunately we've managed to turn things around, and we've found a money system that actually works for the both of us.
This is why we've put together the free guide on how to successfully budget as a couple. In this free guide, you will learn all the various ways, the tools, and the techniques that you can put in place as you're setting up your budget with your partner. Plus, you will actually find ways how to build a system that really does work for the both of you. You can find this free guide at skillfinances.com/free couples budget, or click the link in the description to download it today.
All right, then, let's get back to the discussion. I think it works, right? Like, depending on the type of couple that you are. So some couples will move in together and then they're not yet like fully committed, as in they're not then saying they're sort of testing the waters to see like, will this relationship last? Do I see a future with you, and type of thing. So in that situation, I think, yeah, it definitely works. But then if you're in a situation where you're like, okay, we're married now, we're living together, maybe it might not work, because you might be the type of couple that then says, do you know what? We're now fully committed. If anything, we'll have an our money mindset. Let's join everything together rather than split it 50-50. So I think it also depends on where you are in your relationship. It definitely works, and it's probably fair for those that aren't fully committed or are still testing the waters, but it might not be fair for those that are like, oh yeah, we're having children together, we're living together, we're getting married type of thing.
Yeah. So if you then listen to this and thinking, okay, it is unfair, so what do you do instead? There's another option, or there are plenty of other options, but one other option that you could consider is the one where you split based on your income. So
Yeah.
this one requires a little bit of maths, but not too much, not too crazy, right? But let's just say you add up your combined income together, and then it transpires that I earn 30% and your salary is 70%.
Yeah.
So then essentially that's how we would then technically split those bills. So instead of doing it 50-50, I would then pay 30% of the joint bills, and you
Yeah.
pay 70% of the joint bills, because that's how our income is also sort of divvied up and spread
Yeah.
across. But again, even that's got its own issues, and we could touch on that at a different time. But that's one option that you could do if you're thinking the income element that we're talking about is quite a big deal for you. But on the flip side, if you're thinking, another option, in fact, is to then combine your finances, which is what we
Right.
do, which is basically where you don't see your money, my money. You kind of see it as our money. So it doesn't really matter who the source of income is, because no matter who it is, it's ours. That's kind of,
Yeah.
at a high level, that's kind of it. But if neither of those two options sound good for you, and you're still thinking the 50-50 one makes more sense for you, what would you say are or some tips to make it work?
I guess from the get-go, just be very clear about who's paying for what, and what expenses you are splitting. I think if you go into the relationship, or you decide, okay, let's move in together, whatever, and then you're clear from the get-go, like, okay, this is how much we each earn. And at the moment, we aren't comfortable using the other ways that you've just mentioned. So let's just use the 50-50 split. Make that clear from day one, because you wouldn't want one partner coming in thinking, oh yeah, now that we're moving in together, we're just going to join everything together, so it'll be fine. It will come as a shock to the system when it's time to pay up the bills, and the other partner's then like, no, we're doing 50-50. Do you know what I mean? I think it'll be a lot harder for the one that's earning that. So be clear, be specific about what you're splitting and what you're keeping separate.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's a big one, because you might want to keep, say, savings separate,
Yeah.
or debt repayment separate, even fuel separate if you have two separate cars.
That's true.
But again, be very clear about that, 100%. Another one is that, for me, is that if you're not in a fully committed relationship, then avoid mixing the debts and the savings and investments,
Yeah.
as I mentioned, because, if you're not fully committed, these are things that will impact you if you split up.
Absolutely.
If your relationship does become better and you become committed over time and you grow together, then amazing. You could then eventually combine these things. But whilst you're still figuring out what's happening, do we have a future? Is this going to work? I would keep elements like that separate, and only focus on the 50-50 side. Only focus on
Yeah.
your actual joint bills, like what you said. Be very clear about what those are.
Absolutely. And I think the last point that I'd like to add is that I always say that money is a very emotional thing. As although it's still money, right? But it's also an emotional thing. It comes with its own emotions when you're dealing with it. And you have to make sure that your incomes don't become a breeding ground for jealousy and envy, or cause like some sort of emotional feeling that's negative for your relationship. So if you have, like, going back to the first point, if you're not clear about what you're doing from the get-go, that may happen, because if you then say to your partner, yeah, we're just going to do 50-50 after you've come together, one partner might then be there like, but why? Like, why should I be doing that? Like, now it's causing resentment. Now it's causing jealousy, like all these negative emotions that are not necessary for your relationship. And they could easily lead you to separate or break up and not continue your relationship anymore. But had you spoken about it from the get-go, the moment you decided, yeah, let's move in together, or yeah, let's get married, or yeah, let's do this, had you spoken about it then, you could have then avoided coming to this situation now.
Yeah, and to be honest, this goes beyond just the income and things like that. I think
Yeah.
this goes up. This is about everything to do with money and relationships. Like, have everything that you're thinking about, everything that you're feeling, and the way you are with money, all of that kind of stuff. Have the discussion with your partner, because usually speaking, by the time maybe you do break up, it's not just one thing. It's
It's
a
a lot.
combination of a lot of things, but it's a lot of things that have now just grown to become this one big issue, which is probably one of the reasons why money is the big cause of divorce and separation.
Yeah.
A big part of it is because couples aren't really taking the time to have these discussions openly and transparently, which is something that we advocate all the time.
Yeah.
Have honest, open and transparent conversations with each other about money and how you feel and how you think, and that should keep your relationship at least stronger. You don't have to agree on everything, but you just need to be aware of how your partner feels about it, and you also need to be honest about how you feel about it.
Absolutely.
And you will find, even as you're going through this 50-50 sort of split scenario, you might agree with us, but you might disagree with us and actually say, no, this actually really works for us. And that's great. But it's understanding that's how you both feel about it, which
Yeah.
is the thing that you really want trying to get to.
Absolutely. Communication is key at the end of the day. Like, if you don't talk about those things,
Yeah.
they could fester and cause a lot of issues. But if you've spoken about it and you've agreed, like you just said,
100%.
then it's all good. Yeah.
Yeah. So hopefully this discussion is kind of giving you some insights about what we think about the 50-50 split. Obviously, we think it is unfair because we can't ignore the income side of things. Income plays a big part of just our life in general in the society that we live in, and it's such a sensitive part to
Yeah.
completely ignore, and kind of go 50-50. But that's what we think. We'd love to know, what do you think? Let us know in the comments. If you're watching this on YouTube, we'd definitely love to hear from you. If you listen to this on the podcast, please leave us a review on Apple Podcasts to let us know of how we're doing, how you're finding it, and it has been really useful for us. Hopefully you found some value in today's discussion in how to approach the 50-50 split with your partner. Hope to see you soon.